God, this is big. Okay.
You on the end?
Yeah.
8 metres and 8 centimetres.
Well, 8.10, shall we say? Currently, considering this is going to be Bom dia! Bom dia! Como está?
Vamos andando. Já está mais frio.
Penso que não vamos ter tempo mais calor.
Não tem que mais calor.
About 200. Yeah, just the way it is now.
210.
Okay, just a bit further out, obviously, because just oversize it a little bit.
220 or
Is it
230 or 240?
What's that?
That's
No.
240.
Let's go 240 then.
Yeah. I think that's 210.
Yeah, so 240. If you go to the other side.
See, that's shorter. Are you holding it up at the corner?
Well, yeah, the apex as much as I can.
So that's 190 there. That's 7. Is that right on the end?
Yeah.
This side's only 8 metres.
Okay, so 260 to the wall.
260.
Yeah. How wide have we measured the width? So we'll measure the width next. So we're on the farm today to measure up the barn because we want to get the wood for the roof ordered. And the only thing really there's a concern in terms of the structure of it as it is this section of the wall here on the right hand side. On the other side of the door it's fine, it looks pretty straight, it looks solid. However, this section here is noticeably bulging out and it's not necessarily tied into the corner of the building as well as you would like if you were building it yourself anyway. So one of the concerns is that when we take the old roof off, that this section of the wall is just going to collapse out because the roof's probably holding it together a little bit. Concern number 2 is that once we've put the ring beam on and we start to put basically fresh weight on these walls, that it's going to collapse at that point. What also is making things a little bit complicated is this lintel here. Now we're going to be replacing this lintel for 2 reasons. One, I'm not overly happy with the condition of it, but also we want to raise it a little bit, just a smidge, so that we're not hitting our heads on the lintel as much. Obviously we're going to have to lower the ground level outside the barn as well, but yeah, we're going to raise it just a little bit, just about 10 centimeters or so, but this is going to be replaced, which means taking this section of the wall off as well. So this leaning wall to the side is at that point going to be disconnected from this side of the building, which is also sort of keeping it upright. So it's that wall is a bit of a concern for us. So the most sensible option is to basically take this section of the wall down and rebuild it, make sure that it's straight. We've got the stone already here, so it's not like sourcing the stone's going to be an additional cost, no problem, but it's just the fact that we've never built a stone wall like this before, so we'd have to learn how to do it, which we probably should do anyway. But
we always wanted to do a drywalling course, didn't we, and just never got around to it in the UK.
Yeah. Well, I suppose we're going to have a drywalling course of our own, rebuilding a barn wall, because I think that's what we'll end up having to do. Because although if we take everything off and this stays upright, fine, but then if we start putting, the ring beams on, we start putting the roof on, and then it collapses, then it's a much bigger problem, and it will have cost us probably a lot more money at that point than to just do it properly from the get-go. So most likely we'll have to do this.
I mean, I guess once we took it all apart, if it doesn't fall down then and you can push it hard from the inside, it's probably okay, right?
Yeah, so, well, I think any builder out there's going to be like, yeah, well, I wouldn't
really
recommend it. But realistically, yeah, so I think once we've taken, well, the first step is going to be take the roof off. We'll take the lintel out, so we'll disconnect this bit of the wall from the rest.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, we'll just wait and see how solid it feels, and then we can take it from there. Because ideally, I wouldn't want to rebuild it if I can help it. But at the same time, if saving, not doing this properly means having serious problems further down the line, then you sort of have to.
You do it right.
You have to take it down in a controlled manner when there's no weight on it, and potentially there's nobody getting hurt whilst it's falling down.
Yeah.
So we've got to be careful with this. But it would be a learning experience, to say the least. But yeah. What do you guys think? Would you rebuild it, or would you just cross your fingers and hope for the best?
Or would you pay somebody to come and do it?
Yeah, we're not paying somebody to come and do it. We're going to be doing it ourselves, because that's the whole point.
I know.
At least that's the idea.
We'll see.
So,
watch this space.
right.
We went out to a couple of sawmills to inquire about the wood for the new roof. The first one already got back to us, but they're only able to supply fresh wood, which is not our preferred choice. We're hoping that the other place will be able to provide seasoned construction dry wood, as that would be our preference.
So, while we're waiting for some of those deliveries to arrive, I'm going to take you for a little bit of a tour around the farm and we'll see what we've got going on. Come with me. So at the top here we've got what we call the top barn, or this will be the main barn, and this is the barn that we intend to renovate fully and move into and live in. This is going to be one of the last things that we come to. We have featured the inside of this before. Really, it just contains a lot of our stuff, mainly gardening things. So if you want to see what it looked like before we filled it up with junk, go back and look at some of our previous videos. But yeah, this is where we're gonna live eventually, so that's very exciting. So I'm going to head round the back now. It's a little bit treacherous around here because this was, it still is really, a mimosa forest. So we've managed to take some of it down and stop it from coming back, so that's good. Now we will be tackling this again in the coming weeks because, well, we have a project that's going to needs some space behind here, and also the mimosa is a little bit close to the back of the house here, so we want to make sure that that gets sorted out before it gets any worse. So we'll be getting onto that very soon, I'm sure. We're getting to the point now, so where are we? Towards the end of April time we are now in Portugal. And the grass, whilst a lot of it is still lovely and growing, it is starting to get quite hot and quite dry, so it is dying back. The farmer came, I think about 2 weeks ago. He's farmed this land pretty much forever, and he ploughed around all of the olive trees after we pruned them. So it's a little bit rough and ready on the ground, but that is going to help us, gives us a bit of a blank canvas, so it's going to help us set some paths. You can already see just down there heading in through the olives where some of the paths are going to be and where we walk regularly, so it's really going to help us. We've got an awful lot of wood stacked up on that concrete pile, so we're probably going to have a look at sorting that out soon, because really I would like to weed around there and make that, tame that area a little bit more, as that will become the garden. So it's a space where we all hang out most of the time. We'll cook outdoors, hang out with the cat and the tortoise. So we want to start taming that area as much as we can, and we may as well start sooner rather than later. So yeah, so the farmer has ploughed a lot of this land now, but he hasn't ploughed all of it. So he uses this land and has done for many years. His sheep graze on it. And we want to keep that tradition alive. You know, we don't want to just move here and lose all of the things that used to happen, the traditions that have happened on this farm. So we do want to make sure that some of this farmland is still reserved for him and his sheep to use. And that's really important to us, because it's really nice when you can hear the sheep's bells tinkling and you know they're heading towards your land to come and have some dinner. So that's lovely. So we want to make sure that that is kept available. We've got, I think, a hectare here, a hectare and a half. I can't remember, David will. Hectare and a half we have here. And it's really a lot for us to manage. You know, we had a back garden in the UK that was about 10 metres square. So there's a lot of land for us, more than enough for us to use. We're going to grow some of our own food. Like I say, we're going to have a little garden for us to use. We want to farm some of it, but we also want the sheep to continue coming here, so we're going to keep parts of it a little bit more wild. So we're coming down into, the farm's really split into, I guess, a couple of different sections. We don't have names for them yet, but we probably should have. And this section down here, we've never really got to see it because it's not on the camera, but we have a feeling that it's going to be the more moist area of the garden, of the farm. We think it gets flooded in the winter. There are some telltale signs of that from where it flooded this year, like over the wall. There's like bits of silt that have got left behind after the floods. So we think this probably gets flooded in the winter. Now, we do have a project planned very soon for this area. So make sure, if you want to see what that project is, because you're not going to want to miss it, make sure you subscribe and join us on our channel. So this area is right next door to our neighbour's garden, our neighbour's orta. So we figure it's probably, in fact, I'm sure they've planted some new olive trees there. So it's actually, we think, a really good space to grow some veggies, but because it floods, we're not entirely certain. Look how lovely their garden is. I'm sure those are new olives. I don't think they were there last year. They look quite mature, but hey, not saying I've got a bad memory. So yeah, so the development of this area is going to be quite interesting. We've got a sad old tree there. Not entirely sure what it is. This is the first time we've really been on the land when things are flowering and things are coming into fruit. So we'll be quite excited to see what progresses. We do actually have a well, believe it or not, underneath that big massive tree there. So this land has 3 wells. Looks like it's well supported by moles down here. That's probably not the best news. So yeah, we do have a well down here that's completely overgrown, and we really do need to come and address that, to be honest. Oh, just another job to add to the list. But that's a beautiful well, that is, and it's actually really interesting. The way that it works, the water wheel spins and it dumps water on the top, which then it looks like it pours down along this central wall, and I guess irrigates both sides of the field. We're not sure this is how we imagine it works. We've got no evidence of that really, but that's what it looks like. So if you know how this old system actually worked, drop us a comment below, because we'd love to know more about it, or if you know somewhere that has one of these systems up and running that we could go and look at, or somewhere online that we could see it working, we'd love to see that. But that's another big project here. We need to weed all of this wall. I think they might have grown grapevines here at some point, that's what it looks like. And that's another job that we need to get to. As we tame the garden, we need to find the old grapevines and see if we can get them going again. But there are signs of where the sheep come over and they graze over here. Right, let's go and see what's in the next section. So this was one side. When we came to view this land, and the estate agent brought us on, I think we were really surprised that it was both halves of this. We were made up, to be honest. It's quite a big piece of land. So we go the other side of this wall here. So this is where the famous orange tree is planted. And you can see the farmer hasn't ploughed this yet. He's going to do this in the next week or 2, I imagine. But for now, the grass is still good enough for his sheep to graze it. So that's what's happening. We'll probably get home and have ticks around our ankles, happy days. But we'll sort that out. So this side, we probably want to grow a few more fruit trees over here. We know this flood's quite high up to a certain level as well on this side, but it contains a lot more fruit trees. We've got a tree there that was unsuccessful. We need to start replacing some of these trees now that we're here permanently and can water them better. But yeah, we've got some fruit trees here, and here is the famous orange tree. Probably not in the best place for an orange tree, to be perfectly honest. Now we understand the land a little bit better. We know that it's a bit too cold down here. We're in a little bit of a dip in the valley, so it's a bit of a cold pocket. Not the best place for an orange tree at all. So we're going to leave this here because this was the first tree we ever planted. And we're going to see how it goes, but likely we'll try some more orange trees closer up to the main building, and they should do a little bit better. But this is a big piece of land, and this is really the land that we anticipate leaving for the sheep to graze. We'll plant a few more trees, we'll protect the trees from the sheep, but yeah, we'll essentially keep this section open for the farmer to graze, and that'll be lovely. And then we'll close off all of the rest so they can't just access all of our land. And then we've got over here to the right, I guess you'd call this the main olive grove. This is what we pruned. I think this is coming into its 3rd year now, so come November when it's time to pick the olives, we should have a nice, and I can see already, we'll have a lovely big crop of olives from these. So that will be fun. Again, make sure you subscribe. You don't want to miss us harvesting our first lot of olives. See what kind of dramas that brings. But these olive trees were pruned just as harshly as the ones that we've done up the top. So it just shows you how how much they grow in 2 years. Like, you wouldn't imagine that these had been pruned at all looking at them now. So that's a lot of work. And as David said in a previous video, you prune olive trees roughly every 3 years. So we've split it into 3 sections. So every year we'll be pruning about somewhere between 10 and 20 olive trees. This you've just watched us clear in the last video. So we've cleared all of this wood out to here. This all came out of the barn. We've cleared nicely all of the bramble that were climbing up around the barn. So the barn is now nice and neat. And the wood is on order. And yeah, we're doing all of the research that we need to make sure that we restore this barn as best we can and as safely as we can, and give it a lovely new roof and make it feel loved. So we were speaking to the farmer yesterday, and he reckons that this barn is somewhere between 100 and 200 years old. So we really want to make sure that we give it some TLC and make sure it's standing for another 200 years basically. So oh, yeah, you guys can't come in here. Wait there, you're not allowed. There's a secret project. However, while we were speaking to our farmer, you might remember that last week when we cleared out this barn, we discovered this. Now, I surmised it to be a washing board. The farmer did laugh at that. Now, I'm going to give you a couple of seconds to see if there are any, you've got any guesses as to what it might be. But it was not what we thought at all. He said that this is such a peculiar thing. It's actually a cat flap, believe it or not. Now, don't come in this barn, you're not allowed in here. But he said that you put it in the doorway and it would keep the sheep or other animals out, but allow the cat to still go in, which I thought was quite interesting. Quite a small bloody cat. My cat wouldn't fit through there. So yeah, that's your ancient cat flap. It's always good. David speaks all the Portuguese really, not me. I understand pouco, but I don't speak it very well. But David manages to have lovely conversations with the farmer, and when we were chatting with him yesterday, he told us that the plums were starting to form down on the plum tree at the bottom. Now, this tree is another one that really needs some TLC. It's got a bit of dead wood in it and it must be absolutely ancient. But what he did say was that once those plums start to ripen, we won't see any of them. The birds are going to come straight onto them and eat the lot before we get there. So if you have any ideas of what we can do, because this is all new to us, so if you have any ideas of what we can do to get at least a few plums, we'd like a little handful to ourselves, to keep the birds off just a little bit, we don't mind sharing. Please drop us a comment and let us know what techniques you use to save some of the fruit for yourself. Obviously the birds are used to having this land all to themselves. So here, this broken bit of wall, and you can see where it's all dusty actually. This is where the sheep are used to coming in over the wall. So we're thinking we might make another entrance here, just to allow the sheep easier access. And then we can close off the gate up the top. But they just all pour in over this wall. And like the farmer said to us, these sheep they've been doing this for years. It's just part of their grazing pattern. So it's a hard thing to train them out of. He was going to try when we first bought the land. He said, I'll stop them grazing. And we said, no, please carry on. So, and actually this bit of land throughout the different times of year, it's absolutely lovely. It's full of all sorts of wildflowers. So we want to keep a little bit wild and natural and just let it do what it does best. Right, so this is that old plum tree that I've mentioned. Let's have a look. Oh yeah, I can see them. Oh, there's loads. Wow, crikey. So the farmer said these should be ripe sometime around June, July. So we should be keeping a close eye on it around about that time, because like I say, I'd like to make a plum jam, and there's plenty of plums on here to go around. So while we're down here, we may as well go over and have a look at this well we've got. This is another one that comes with a full mechanism, but this one's a little bit more unusual. So the mechanism, I guess, that they attach the donkey to is just a little bit away from the well itself. And then just over this wall here, this is where we have the winter stream that runs across the bottom of the land. So here's the mechanism that drives the wheel and the buckets, and I guess the donkey would have gone around in a circle here and turned the wheel and raised the buckets. Now, as you know, if you watched the video where we cleaned the barn, we actually found some buckets. So that's quite exciting. And I'm pretty sure that when Uncle Greg comes to visit, yeah, these wells will probably have a little bit of TLC because it's quite exciting. But this is quite a nice well, nice and clear. Right, let's head back to the top. Now, don't forget, if you become a member to our channel, you can get access to some early videos. So we currently have 2 videos sat waiting to go live. But if you're a member, you can actually get to see these videos today. You'll also get exclusive updates on what we're up to. So any members out there right now will already know that our secret project is underway. And yesterday they were given a hint as to what it was. So if you want to take a guess as to what our secret project may be, drop us a comment and we'll see if you're right. So slap bang in the bottom of this pasture land that we've got here is this massive, what do we think this is, an apple? Something different. We haven't been down here for a couple of weeks, but oh, what, 5 or 6 weeks ago, under here was just white and full of chamomile. So we've got quite, yeah, this is, I would say this is probably apple. So it's a really productive bit of land, this is, and that's one of the reasons we wanted to get it. It wasn't all overgrown and needed starting from scratch. It was already a piece of farmland that had fruit trees on and was being managed, has a whole load of pasture land that's still being used. Right, so somewhere through these olive trees, we've already made kind of a path as we were walking up and down. I don't remember what we were doing, to be fair, but we were walking up and down the other week a lot. So we made some paths. Oh, we were clearing the bases, weren't we? We cleared all the base of all of these olive trees. So olive trees tend to sprout from the bottom, and these had got really quite bad. Some of them were surrounded with bramble, so we cleared all around the bottom of them, made sure they were nice and clean. So when it comes to harvest time, we may have to do a little bit of pruning around the base, but it shouldn't be a big job before a big job. And all of these things take a bit of time. And we don't want to bore you with some of the menial tasks that we do. So we don't show you, you know, the 3 or 4 days that we spent clearing around the base of these olive trees. But it was quite a big task at the time. And then I think we had 2 fires to burn the remains. Now, don't know if I should tell you this. Our secret project might mean that we don't need to burn anymore. Did I say too much, David? I think that's enough. So yeah, make sure you join us on that because it's going to be an interesting experiment, something new. So yeah, like I said earlier, this is part of the main olive grove. This is what we pruned 2 years ago. Right, and the path goes this way now. So whilst we've got all this lovely dirt, we are trying to tread paths in so that we can get a feel for where we're going to walk. And we're not going to landscape it per se, but we are going to manage it a little bit more. We don't want it ploughed like this regularly. So we want to find a way that we can manage the land without it being ploughed to death like it has been. But slowly, slowly, you know, we need to take ownership of this big piece of land. It's a new project for us. So we need to learn how to manage it as we go. So for this year, the farmer said, "Do you want me to plough?" And we said, "Yes, please." He has the tractor, we don't. So here's the 3rd well, and this is the well that's at the top of the land. So this one was probably the main well, and you can see that the donkey would have walked around the outside of it, which I think is the traditional way that wells work, and the water would have come up, deposited here, gone down here, and poured out here into this large tank. Now I don't really know how this would work. There's a little spout off the top there. So was this used for irrigation of the land? How did they use it? If anybody knows, again, please let us know because we would love to know how it used to be used. This well is quite milky, but it does contain quite a lot of wildlife. We generally got a few big frogs in here. Nothing today, obviously. A few big frogs and some newts that swim around in there. But this one is probably the milkiest well out of all of them. Let's go this way. So here are the oaks that we just pruned. You can see how devastated they look. Oh, sorry. So here are the olives that we just pruned, and you can see how devastated they look. But it won't take them long to bush out again and start to become productive, and some of them are already looking productive. They shouldn't be, but some of these should be quite nice. And then you can see, and we love this tree, this big, huge old oak tree. I don't know how many years it stood here. But it's lovely, lovely place to sit in the shade. And really it's one of the few big pieces of shade that we have on this land. So very often you've seen us record from here in the past because we'll set up our chairs under here and we might have lunch here and rest under here. We set up camp here when the whole family came. This was where we put the tent. So yeah, really useful big tree to have on the land. And it's also been harvested at some point. Peculiarly, is that a word? I don't know. It was only harvested on this small section. I'm not entirely sure why. Again, someone might be able to answer as to why it was harvested like that and why they didn't take more, why they didn't take it from the roadside. And whether we should or shouldn't harvest the oak tree. I mean, for us, we would probably not harvest it, but is it better for them to be harvested regularly? I don't really know. Yeah, I think that concludes our farm tour. If you've got any questions or want to know anything about what we've said here, or you've got any suggestions, ideas, a little bit of knowledge, something that you want to share with us, please let us know in the comments, as we'd really love to understand more about farming in Portugal, and just get some ideas. What would you like to see us do? What do you think we're going to do next? Let us know. We're excited to have you along with us, and we look forward to seeing you soon.